Quiet on the set.
Camera speed.
Sound production, take one.
Action!
I had my own Mission Impossible mission just to make my 5 p.m. showtime for Mission Impossible 8 Final Reckoning yesterday. Yeah, it was a rainy, not so summery, hellish day yesterday in Philadelphia, PA. I had to go all the way into deep West Philly to Center City, and then down to almost Old City. So like 3 major parts of the city, 3 amazing areas just to walk around in. But that wasn't my goal. My goal yesterday was to get work done as quickly as possible, and it took about 2.5 hours, but each one somewhat of a pressure situation. And all of this was to give myself enough time to make it back home so my fiance and I could walk into the movie theater. Just walk back downtown. There's an area here in Philadelphia, PA called the Fashion District, and there is one amazing AMC theater there. So yeah, dare I say, was I a little bit wet? Was I a little bit flustered? Was my brain racing with IT problems? Yes. Did I sit down and watch what might be the final installment of Ethan Hunt and Tom Cruise in the Mission Impossible franchise, a franchise that no one saw coming almost 30 years ago. It's insane how long they've been able to keep this going, and how many different times within the series that it's rebooted itself and found a different vein or like a different voice to lean in on. Dead Reckoning is also very similar to Star Trek's 2, 3, and 4, which is a in-series trilogy. We have Dead Reckoning Part 1, Part 2, and then we have Rogue Nation, and then we have Fallout. So it's Fallout, Rogue Nation, Dead Reckoning 1 and 2. Dead Reckoning 1 and 2, realistically, is just one long, epic 5.5 hour long action spy thriller, end of the world superfest. And it makes it all the more enjoyable because we do get a true sense of dread in this movie, and it's a tone that we don't have in any of the other flicks. There's a celebration, almost like a feel-good atmosphere in Mission Impossible, like 3, 4, 5, 6, kind of 7 being Dead Reckoning Part 1. And that's this attitude that we're in amazing vehicles, we're going to galas, we're going to balls, we're amongst the celebrity of the celebrities, the true 1%, and we're doing things in and out of this elite lifestyle. And because of that, again, we get Tom Cruise dressed in Tom Ford, we get all the girls from movie to movie dressed up in amazing gowns, we're going to operas, like we're doing all of this stuff, all this high class stuff. There's an air of the threat never really being a threat, to where they did a good job setting up Ethan Hunt as a character that really just has to do something impossible, and you have to say it's impossible. Like whatever he's trying to do, you have to say it's impossible. Ethan Hunt's going to do it, and then this is our stunt, not just action sequence, but stunt sequence. And Tom Cruise, through the course of this series, and we've been talking about this series a lot on this channel leading into this, Tom Cruise is potentially the greatest stunt performer in Hollywood history. For anyone to overtake him at this point, it's going to be tough. I don't see that coming. I don't see anyone right now capable of doing what Tom Cruise has done. And some of it is because Tom Cruise is so embedded in the filmmaking process. He's not just an actor hired. Him and his producing partners and his production companies, he knows the ins and outs of how to pull this stuff off. So he's able to design it a little bit around himself, and they're not retrofitting anything. this is a big point when we get to, Tom Cruise jumping off of a giant cliff on a motorcycle. This is a big point when we get him cliffhanging and so on and so forth. And in this movie, I mean, literally submerged underwater, literally hanging from an airplane. And it's real, and it's there, and they're thrilling. They're amazing action sequences. This movie's budgeted also at $400 million. Isn't that amazing? AKA powders. Oh, and by the way, guys, it's the Film Buff. Welcome back to it. Welcome back to it. Yeah, no intro today. We're just jumping right into this conversation. But we get Tom Cruise in maybe two of the best sequences I've ever seen. When he goes into the sub, remember our major discussion point from Dead Reckoning Part 1, or just Dead Reckoning, was that they used that movie to set up the true impossible mission to get to that sub. That sub is somewhere sunken in the frozen tundra. It's under ice, and and he's going to have to get there. That's how we wrap up that movie. I viewed that at the time as such a thrilling scenario, so unexpected as a part 1, as a true cliffhanger. So finally seeing that sequence in this movie did not disappoint at all. The much promoted airplane, the biplane sequence, because again we have to go analog, and the reason for that is within the story of this movie, the entity, which is essentially God, the way that this movie opens, it's very, going back to Star Trek, it's very Star Trek 5, the undiscovered country. Or wait, what is the fifth Star Trek? Hold on, excuse me. Star Trek 5, the final frontier. I remember seeing that movie with my father, and even then, even as a kid, I remember saying to myself, it's like, you're almost just like, holy crap, it's they're fighting God, like they're fighting, it's a little bit like Wizard of Oz, like we're fighting against a all-powerful being. What can they do? Like, how are they going to get out of this? And usually in stories like that, when we have a beloved character, or a character that's been with you for a couple of decades, it's hard, you know the character to a point, and you say to yourself, well, like this is going to be weird, and they have to kind of nail it. And if they don't nail it, it just kind of like breeds. It's like an air amongst the audience. It's like no one's satisfied, no one buys in on it. And this movie opens with like a total lean-in that this entity that they set up in part 1, set it up in part 1 very well too, by the way. It truly is God. It's all knowing, it's controlling the world, and everything is evolving into chaos. And you get the absolute sense of that, like very early on. So that's what I mean about the movie has a feeling of dread. The clock is ticking, but there's pretty much like a 72-hour, 3-day countdown from the very beginning. And then they do the Ethan Hunt trope, which is everyone pushes against him. You can't do this thing. We have another solution. We have another path. And Ethan Hunt will choose the greater good no matter what. And it is for the love of country. It really is like a head nod to preserving this lifestyle, and the innocence around the world. You get a true sense of that. There is a stumbling in this movie. I'm going to touch on that real quick. Again, we're about to discuss something that I haven't seen any YouTuber or critic pinpoint. But I do view this movie as a direct sequel to Mission Impossible. The characters are transferred over. There's relations from that first movie. There's constant head nods to the movie. A lot of the things we see in the background of Mission Impossible come to fruition here. We do also connect it very heavily to Mission Impossible 3, which is the in-series reboot. My episode for that should be coming soon, because I absolutely love the third one. We have to talk about what we can kind of say is the new Mission Impossible team, because every movie they kind of shift members around, and we have some constants like Simon Pegg, Ving Rhames, and we get Tom Cruise. These are our constants. The addition of Grace, aka the real life Captain Carter, Haley Atwell. They try and do some comedic moments with her, and they try and give her some of these like sentimental moments with Tom Cruise, and they're not from a love interest position. Some of those absolutely fall flat. We also have here we go. I'm just trying to get the other actor's name, and he's not even. Isn't that funny? He's not even on the initial Google search. Let me get into IMDb, because I'm not even sure what the I'm not even the leftover. See it. Here we go. Greg Tarzan Davis. That's his real name. Degas. So he's one of the hunters from the previous installment, and he is trying to hunt down Ethan Hunt, and he ends up on the IMF team. His character is strictly background, that when he chimes in very much falls flat. There was a moment I believe it was Ghost Protocol, where they set up Jeremy Renner as a tag along like admin, and Tom Cruise slowly realizes, just based on some of his skill sets, that he is a field agent, and he's there to kind of keep tabs. But there's a confrontation brewing there, because Ethan Hunt doesn't trust this guy, and there's a great moment where they have to have their conflict, and they have to kind of do realize that they're on the same side. And that character too, leading into like Rogue Nation, Jeremy Renner's character, still potentially waffles a little bit, like within the administration. You don't know how for Ethan Hunt and MIF he is, and how much he's not, and that's a part of the political intrigue that the series, again, it's like an in-series storyline that we got with Mission Impossible, like basically 4, 5, and 6. Degas, though, Greg over here, Mr. Tarzan, his character, in my view, just falls flat. Doesn't add much, and he has a lot of screen time, and he weighs things down. I will say, I think everyone else, I think Pom Klementieff, which is our Mantis from Guardians of the Galaxy, she plays Paris. Her character, I absolutely love her character, a assassin of little words. But essentially, this IMF team, they're just kind of like cobbled together from the previous installment, which works because we're in like a go atmosphere, and you end up with who you end up with, and kind of like the people that would be in the world of Ethan Hunt. These are all like highly skilled, genius level people anyway. So like all systems are go. We believe that scenario. We buy in on that scenario. What we don't get from that scenario are characters that sing, that talk to us, and dare I say, look a certain way on screen. I do believe Haley Atwell is the absolute anchor. Not anchor. She's she's the sinking sub. Here we go. If we were to use that in movie reference to this flick. Now, with that, we get a little bit of a visual that might boggle us, because we're in the Congo, we're in Africa at the end of this movie, and seeing Ethan Hunt in somewhat of an Indiana Jones environment doesn't quite land. We want Ethan Hunt in concrete buildings, essentially. I get it. I get what they're doing. I get that they're maybe potentially sending off the character, and they're putting him in this wild, amazing situation, which is there too, by the way. You know, like where they're in Africa trying to shut down some of these, this like apocalypse level human knowledge storage center, which is, does exist too, by the way. We'll talk about that maybe on another episode. So just seeing Tom Cruise at the end of the movie in rolling hills with mountains and a potential like sunrise, it's not quite there, but we do get a send off for this guy. We get a moment at the end where the team meets up, but they don't get their next mission and they break up. So they all go amongst their separate ways. I'd like that too. So there's a couple, in my view, like nitpicky scenes with Haley. There was a couple nitpicky environmental situations that may not fit into the franchise. But if this is like a send-off, and if this really is our character facing God, this is the best of any of that. And it's wild to me that Mission Impossible does your beloved protagonist versus God better than Superman, better than Star Trek 5. It's there, and they've done some amazing work story-wise with this. The impending dread, Gabriel, our villain, you do believe he's somewhat invincible, and he's amongst himself rogue from the entity. In the previous movie he was an arm of the entity, and basically a apostle of God. So he's solo. So it's really like interesting. The only plot point that I would like to have seen a little bit more expansion on is Tom Cruise hooks into the entity, and the entity tells Ethan that he's now the chosen one. Gabriel is gone, and that the two of them are linked, Tom Cruise and the entity. I wanted to see a little bit more with that, to where similar in Matrix Revolutions, where Neo has his moment with the machine mainframe, and they both have like a little of a agreement, come to Jesus moment before the fight with Agent Smith. I thought that this movie needed something similar, because it feels satisfying in the Matrix in that final arc. With all of that, AKAPADers, what a wild, what a fun, what a great movie, fantastic franchise, fantastic series, and I do consider this movie a direct sequel to Mission Impossible 1.
Okay, that's a wrap.